All right, we're back. One more time this week. We missed you guys last week on the lives because we were at Salt over there in Wyoming. If you haven't been to Jackson Hole, and I know I talked about it Monday, but man, definitely one of the most majestic places I've ever been to in my whole life. Definitely want to go back. Definitely want to go skiing there. But the view from the top of the mountain, everything that they put on there at the event was second to none. Still, kind of reminiscing, going back through, following up with a bunch of cool people, trying to make sure that we're making the most of, when you go places, you get to have a lot of conversations, and it's hard to make sure you follow up with everybody that you talk to. You got to catalog, what do you think the best opportunities are going to be? And sometimes, I start off these things different ways, lots of different times, but this one, I don't know if you guys have ever followed Patrick Bet-David. And if you haven't, highly recommend. Valuetainment's a fantastic channel. It's been around for a long time. I think it's the largest following for any entrepreneurial channel that's on YouTube. He's been doing it for more than a decade, millions of subscribers at this point. But the point of this is when he first got started, he was training people at Bally's Total Fitness. And he had a client that he was working with, and really renowned guy. And he invited him to a house party. And sometimes, you, especially early on in my journey, I can say this, there's some level of imposter syndrome that you have where you're kind of batting out of your league on some stuff, and you're in a room with very highly qualified people, and you don't know, you want to do something big, but you're not quite there yet. You haven't quite accomplished some of the accolades that would really maybe even cement yourself in your own mind as a person of the caliber that's in that room. And he felt that way at this event. Met a lot of really high caliber people, but he went above and beyond, was helping the gentleman's wife, wash some dishes after the party was over, hung out after everybody else left, and was, just trying to provide value. And that's kind of the premise of how you want all your relationships to be. You don't necessarily want something from the other person. You just want to help other people, and good things will come from that. So in this situation, he's helping, and before he leaves, he asks the gentleman, he says, is there anything else I can help you with? And the guy says, no, you've already done a lot, and I really appreciate you hanging out. He says, well, if you need anything, anything, man, happy to do it. He says, well, you know what? I wouldn't normally ask this, but my son's in prison, and he did some things that are not so great, and I can't go see him. My family won't go see him. Would you go see him for me? And just make sure he's doing okay, and talk to him and tell him, that we still love him, and that, we'll be here for him when he gets out, type thing. And this is like a bad prison. So Patrick says, okay, yeah, I can do that. Again, just trying to help the guy and trying to be a good friend. And he goes and he meets the son and does what's asked of him, and lets him know and talks to him. And he says this is like a rough prison that this young man's in. And he comes back, and the gentleman that he helped with that, he said, hey, look, this is my Rolodex of everybody in my network. If you want to train them, or you want to, get to know them for whatever reason, you use my name, you tell them you know me, and they will make time for you. And nobody in that Rolodex ever made Patrick any money. Maybe he signed him as a client for his insurance, or, very small stuff here and there. But the point of the story is, there was a gentleman that he met because of that gentleman at that party through his Rolodex that introduced him to another person, that introduced him to another person, that introduced him to another person, that introduced him to another person. 5 years later, he makes his first $100 million on a transaction with the fifth derivative of, that guy's contact that he made an introduction to 5 years before. So when you're meeting people, even if there's not immediate value that you get between the exchange, you just want to help other people, provide value, make sure that you're doing what's right in alignment with what you're supposed to do, your principles, your core values, your beliefs, and good things come your way. And it's like planting a seed for a tree. These are investments in people that you're making, time that you're spending, resources, doing favors, whatever it might be. It's going to come back to you tenfold. And it's never, I won't say never, almost never in the way that you think that's going to happen. Somebody will make an introduction that completely changes the direction of your life because of something nice you did for somebody else one time. And so that's just kind of the mantra I try to live by. When I meet all these people, and I made it a priority for me really 5 years ago, one of the things that changed in my life that's probably the largest catalyst that I could point to for the success that we're having currently is consistency and hard work's required. Like, that's a prerequisite. You have to do that. But meeting one person and being intentional about this, intentionally meeting one new person per day and having an intimate conversation with them, getting to know them, understanding their struggles, where they are in their life, and providing value in any way that I can. Sometimes I don't like the other person and they don't like me for whatever reason. That's fine. There haven't been a whole lot of those, but there have been some. And there's been other people that, I've developed business relationship with, just friendships. We've thrown events together. We've done different things together, some of which have just cost me money. They haven't ever turned into anything yet. But because of all those things, I've been in positions and rooms and had conversations with people that I never would have been around or been in front of to learn from. And you pick up little golden nuggets and BBs from all of these people. And that's really kind of what culminates into you becoming the person that you need to be to step into who you need to be in your life to accomplish your goals. Right. And so anyway, that's the little bit of wisdom that I have at 34 years old. I always try to lead with value, without expectation, help other people. And if there's reciprocity, or they make an introduction, or if they tell me to go screw myself, it's all the same. The universe is going to take care of me. It's going to take care of my family. As long as I'm helping other people and providing value, then everything's right, and you'll get paid back. And again, it's almost never in the way that you think it's going to be. So that's what we're doing, following up with good people. And if cool things happen, awesome. If it takes a long time for something cool to happen, awesome. If something cool never happens, also awesome. It's all good. So out there in the market, though, and because that's what you guys are watching for, you're not watching for the golden BBs here. Sideways. Not a whole lot going on in digital assets. We did have a big dump yesterday. Market kind of fell a little bit, but I think this is the last one. I thought the last one was the last one. I even posted over there on Twitter that the XRP chart in particular is looking super bullish, that things are looking like they're going to move here in the near future. And I think my timeframes for near future or soon are longer than most people's. I do think that, potentially even within the next 10, 15 days here, we're poised for another leg up in the market. We do have expansion happening over there in the Russell 2000. We've got all-time highs in the Dow. Stocks are also at the highest valuation they have ever been for PE ratio and some of the other indicators that most of the analysts use, even in comparison to the height before the Depression in the 1920s. In 1929 and the dot-com boom, stocks are trading at the highest valuation compared to their profits that they ever have. So, you normally see Bezos and some other CEOs start taking chips off the table. If we start to see that here, I do think that we're poised for a pullback in the markets, and I do think that that's going to be the reverse carry trade when it unwinds. We've got interest rates from Jerome Powell. They were dovish, while he was in Jackson Hole just on the Friday after me, talking about, looking like they are going to lower interest rates here in September. And then in addition to that, you've got Bank of Japan, with their yields continuing to climb. They've left their interest rate at 50 basis points, and we've got the 10-year at 1.6. We got the 30-year over 3%. So they're going to have to raise interest rates in the near term, and I still think that oil is going to be the catalyst. Still watching for some type of conflict over there in the Middle East, or maybe even with Russia. There's some submarines, and there's been some attacks on oil centric production and lines and other logistical pieces to move oil around the planet. But I think there's going to be something that causes a large problem, and that is going to be the tipping point for the Bank of Japan to have to raise interest rates aggressively. We have some macro economists stating that they think that the Fed's going to lower somewhere between 150 and 175 basis points. If we saw that type of reduction in our interest rates, that could definitely be a catalyst for the reverse carry trade to start unwinding, especially with where yields are there in Japan at this point. If we saw the U.S. Treasuries tumble that much in yields, it's going to be a problem. So, I'm not taking chips off the table, but all my chips are in XRP. So that's where I'm positioned. I think it's the hedge against the reverse carry trade. If you were going to pick one, I think it'll be inversely correlated and move significantly higher while everything else is burning down because liquidity is being sucked out of the market. I think they'll be dumping liquidity into XRP to be able to shore things up. I think that is the fail-safe. You guys have heard me talk about that lots of times. We have multiple videos on the reverse carry trade if you want to go check those out. And the domino theory that I put out almost a year and a half ago. It was March of 2024 when we first put that theory out there, and got a nod from a few people. So we'll see how things play out, but I do anticipate, again, just with the macro environment and everything else that looks like it's imminent on the horizon here, that we're poised for some significant upside in specific digital assets before the end of the year. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into the questions here. Appreciate you guys taking time out on your Wednesday night to watch this and hopefully learn a little bit. Hopefully I'm able to provide you guys some value. If I do, if you don't, then don't do this. But if I do, please like the channel, please subscribe, please share this with somebody that you think would find it valuable. And we'll go ahead and hop into the questions. We got Mark. What's up, Mark? He says, Jake, thanks for everything. Now that we pretty much know the Clarity Act will pass most likely, once passed, do you think that XRP will see price surge in the news already built into the price? I think, I don't think that the Clarity Act is priced into the market. I think that there is definitely a piece there that we will see, things move. I think that price of XRP could move before that's passed. It could even be a catalyst to pass that so that other things can compete with XRP. I think that XRP will kind of stand alone for a short period of time, at least, with other networks kind of still being stymied as potentially securities or not. We don't have a full purview on that, but with the ruling from the SEC lawsuit from Judge Torres, we know that XRP in and of itself is not a security here in the US. And I think that you'll continue to see more people looking to build products and solutions to produce returns or yield on XRP. Wild that we're first to market on that, really. You got a few other people out there doing it in a similar way. I had another conversation today with who do I even want to share? Who? Won't share who yet. But it is a prominent blockchain that you guys would know that's looking to emulate exactly what we've done at Digital Wealth Partners on chain, where you would be able to put your XRP up into their smart contract or protocol. It would reflect that value through off-exchange settlement or pseudo accounts if it ends up being on the XRPL, and that value would then be margined and put to work in some capacity to generate returns. So kind of it's have your cake and eat it too. You will have the ability to hold on to your XRP, just like people think about staking It's not staking because you're not putting it to work with a validator or a node on a network to generate the returns. But it's the same premise, right? You're putting up the asset, getting margin or release or delegating, control, not control, but value from the asset, either voting rights or something else, to a counterparty that's able to put that to work in a way that generates returns that they're able to pass back to the individuals participating. This specific individual that I talked to, I can say where he used to work. He used to work at Uphold. No longer works there. He works at another party. Was excited about this, and we've done it through a securities offering here in the US. And that's been the apprehension to pretty much everybody else that's looking to do this. We've done it in a regulated, compliant, standardized way that's at a level that, of scrutiny that if we were, audited, we will be. We're compliant. We know that it's done the right way. Everything is, positioned correctly. We've mitigated counterparty risk, and people's assets are safe while they're generating returns. So really excited. We should have close to $250 million worth of XRP being put to work here in September through our hedge fund, and head and shoulders above anybody else out there putting these assets to work at Digital Wealth Partners. So if that sounds cool to you, if you have 100,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in portfolio value, we would love to work with you over there at Digital Wealth Partners and help you generate some returns on your XRP. And we're working on HBAR, not in the not too distant future. Some of the conversations there at SALT, I think, are going to turn into yield for HBAR in a very similar manner. We got Cameron. What's up, Cameron? He says, "Hey, Jake, thanks for taking the time. Other than lower supply plus demand equals higher value, what's the reason/benefit to burning tokens upon utilization?" Well, it's really just what you mentioned there. You want something that you're putting your money into to be deflationary. You don't want it being devalued over time. So this is the whole concept behind Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is actually inflationary. There's more Bitcoin minted every single day and added to the market. XRP, I guess you could call it inflationary. The native asset itself isn't, where Bitcoin is. So there's more Bitcoin being mined every single day, even though we know there's a fixed total value. There is more on the market every single day, and there's a lot of demand for it. So, it continues to get bought up, and price continues to move higher because there's more demand than there is supply moving onto the market. And that's the whole point of the halving, the rewards for validating or securing the end of each block that disperses Bitcoin to people that are, securing the network, have been cut in half. Started with 50, and then 25, and then 12 and a half, and then 6 and a quarter. And now we're at 3.21125 Bitcoin per block that people get as when they solve the hard math problem and encrypt the blockchain. So, but with XRP, all of the XRP that's ever going to exist was minted up front. Now, you have a treasury mechanism, and I think that's important. You want some way to maintain price stability. I know a lot of people get concerned, especially if they're on the Bitcoin side, that some counterparty holds that much XRP, but they only release $1 billion each month. It's locked in an escrow. It doesn't. It's not like they could just dump it all on the market at one time, and it wouldn't be in their interest to do so. What they're doing with it is literally treasury management. So they sell enough onto the market for the period to be able to maintain the value over that term, and continue to utilize the network in a fashion where they can settle transactions. And I know people get frustrated that there's not enough volatility and we're not going to the moon, but the whole point of XRP is to settle transactions. And if you had significant volatility all the time on the network, it wouldn't be a good choice for that, right? And so that is the whole premise behind the treasury mechanism that Ripple has created, is a way to continue to expand the supply on the market or contract the supply on the market if they need to, in order to maintain price stability of the token. And you'll see this be much more prominent on the other side of price appreciation once we do have high stable values and there are significant volumes of payments settling across the network utilizing the asset, they will continue to maintain that treasury mechanism and only put enough out there in order to be able to hold price stability or meet demand as it comes about. Now, if you had so much demand and not enough tokens to meet it, that's when you get these big moves to the upside. Or if you have way too much supply on the market and not enough demand, that's when things fall significantly. So you want a mechanism to be able to do that. But I think, you know, if you look at it from the other perspective of control, that there is some control to XRP's price. But I want it to be that way because that's the only way it's really going to get adopted at scale and be used in the capacity that people are hoping for. So I know that didn't directly answer your question about supply and demand and the burning of the token. In reality, XRP is deflationary. There is less and less total supply every single day. They burn about 5 million per day. There's 100 billion that were originally minted. There's a lot of supply. It's going to take more than 1,000 years, like a long, long time for XRP, even at the current burn rate, to get through all of it. So it is meant to be a global liquidity mechanism that lasts for far longer than you and I's lifetimes, that can support transactions and commerce globally, and create a fair market for how sovereign countries interact and enterprises interact and banks interact and individuals interact in perpetuity, basically, is the premise behind it. So that's why I'm invested in it. And that's also, you know, to your point, a good thing. It's deflationary. We got AJ. He says, "Hey, Jake, as usual, thanks for taking the time." Absolutely, man. I enjoy doing these lives every Monday and Wednesday night. I will be traveling to renew my vows with my wife this weekend. And so I don't think I'm going to make the Monday live next week because it's Memorial Day and we chose a long weekend to do that. 10 years we've been married. And so I'll miss you guys next Monday, but we will be back Wednesday. So a week from today, we'll be back on the live. He said, "Just wanted to say I appreciate your patience when answering questions about XRP price this year. Just missed you in Dallas. We need to have a few beers when I'm back in town." Absolutely, dude. You should come to the Mastermind event. We have an event here in September. If you're part of the Mastermind, we would love to see you guys there. It's on September 19th. I won't tell you where. You have to join the Mastermind in order to get access to that. But if you want to, right here's the code: Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month. Well, excuse me, not a free month anymore. It's $2. I said that for so long. It's like second nature at this point. It's $2 to join the Mastermind now for social or Carbon One. Check it out. If you don't like it, there's no like commitment. It's month-to-month contract. We don't lock people in or like. We have over 6,000 people that have chosen to be there and participate in that community. Thank you, my wonderful wife, with the XRP bejazzled. What is this thing? It's not Tumblr. There you go. It's not a Yeti. I wanted to call it a Yeti. So, yeah, would love to see you guys there. So go check that out. Join the Mastermind. It costs $2. If you don't like it, again, you can cancel at any time. It's not like you're locked into anything. And you can come to all of the events that we throw. So we do more in real life events for the Mastermind than any other community in crypto that I'm aware of. Maybe the only other one that I could think of would be like Bored Ape Yacht Club. We try to do at least one a quarter. Sometimes we have more than that. And we try to do them in multiple areas. This one's, again, going to be here in Dallas. And again, AJ, we would love to see you there, brother. We got Wayne. What's up, Wayne? He says, "Ahoy, Captain Claver." I don't have my eye patch on, Wayne. It says, if XRP is the king and all other cryptos use the XRPL highway, what use case would there be for ETH, Solana, BTC, and other chit coins? Not with an S, but with a C. Will the meme coin BS finally end when utility takes over? I don't think, well, so I'm going to take this in twofold. Meme coins aren't going to go anywhere. Meme coins, I think, are going to continue to be like pink sheets, penny stocks. People like to gamble. People like to roll the dice on stuff and speculate. They get an adrenaline rush from that. It's not my thing, but there's a lot of people that want to do it. And so I think that'll continue to persist. Um, they're a joke, right? There needs to be some investor protection around that. There's a lot of rugs and other problems that happen. I think there'll be some reform with the Clarity Act around that. But I do think that they will continue to exist. I think that there will be some type of pink sheets for crypto as people want to roll out new products and projects and get some liquidity in their network before they try to turn it into something that has value or a social token like Doge. On the first part of that, those other networks still have value. So Bitcoin, there's a huge energy component to Bitcoin that most people don't really understand. It's really good to have the miners next to substations because you're able to toggle how much electricity you're using. And I think that the infrastructure that's been built for Bitcoin could be rehypothecated in some way if it's not used to mine Bitcoin. But I think the infrastructure that's been developed for Bitcoin, if it continues to persist in the way that it does, actually has a huge benefit for the energy grid and some other stuff. Actually, met with a gentleman up in New York when I went up there to speak with Ritesh that has a very interesting way to stabilize miners' returns. So they're able to basically sell hash, that the excess hash that they have, into the cloud, and know that they're going to get a certain amount of Bitcoin in perpetuity. So kind of like a futures contract on your Bitcoin to know how much you're going to get to be able to maintain your costs and revenues. So if you know your fixed cost is a certain amount of energy and you're speculating what the price of Bitcoin is going to be, and you could stretch out how many Bitcoin you knew you were going to be able to mine, that actually helps you forecast and budget and do a bunch of other things for your business. So I think that that'll be probably a really good project over the long term. I think the product that he's creating is revolutionary on that side. So I think that that's how Bitcoin will persist if it continues. I do think that there's going to be a large drawdown in Bitcoin when the reverse carry trade unwinds. I think you could see as low as a $20,000 Bitcoin when all of that happens. Does it continue higher after that? That's going to be far below a lot of the miners' capacity or cost for the electricity to be able to mine the Bitcoin. It's definitely going to cause problems for Michael Saylor. Definitely going to cause problem for the ETFs and other structured products when that happens. How quickly does that recover? I don't know. So, but I am with Michael Saylor on it. I think it goes to 1 million or 0, and I'm leaning towards 0. I'm probably 70-30 on that, but there's a 30% chance that, in my mind, Bitcoin really does go to $1 million. I missed that play. I'm out on it. I missed the ROI. Even if it goes to 1 million, that's only a 10x from here. And I'm looking at other assets that I think are going to go 100 or 1,000 times, because those are the opportunities to really generate your wealth in a really significant way. And then it's about wealth preservation. So that's my shtick on Bitcoin. ETH and Solana. The EVM that's been developed on Ethereum is going to continue to persist. Like the amount of people that develop in Python and Solidity and develop smart contracts using the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, will last for forever at this point. It's too ingrained. There's too much traction. And that's why the XRPL created an EVM sidechain for that smart contract capability and to attract those developers into that ecosystem to rehypothecate a lot of the things that have been developed on Matic and ETH or other EVM-based networks over here on the XRPL. Aave, big deal. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier today, but Ripple was talking about RLUSD and its role with Aave moving forward. Aave is a big player at this point for the ability to borrow against tokenized assets. They're a huge lender and liquidity pool that you can put assets into or liquidity into and generate a return. And then it also provides liquidity to people that are looking to access liquidity against their tokenized assets. So really cool to see that. And that is, an ETH-based product. Same with Compound and many of the other smart contract protocols that have been developed over there, which really, there's a lot of use cases that have been developed there. They're clunky because they either settle on a layer 2 like Polygon or Matic, or if you try to settle them through ETH, they're expensive and they take a little bit. If you could marry, the benefits that you get with XRP for low cost and low latency with these smart contracts for settlement, that's where the magic happens. So I think you're going to see a huge migration from both the Solana ecosystems and from the Ethereum ecosystems over to that EVM sidechain. When it comes to Solana, it's a public network. There's no private permissioned way to access Solana. Unless you're going to, utilize Axelar or Wormhole, one of these other cross-chain interoperability protocols. And then you could have some type of private permissioned ecosystem that interacted with Solana. But at face value, it is a public network with no other access points. And so it's only going to be public infrastructure or goods that are going to be available on Solana. Now, you can do token gating on Solana and have some privacy. But as far as institutional adoption, they want their own private permissioned ecosystem that they have full governance over, that allows them to connect to a mainnet for liquidity. So I don't think you're going to see a ton of enterprise applications for Solana, but in public applications like car titles, or let's call it real estate, things where people are issuing digital titles or NFTs, I think Solana is a good solution for that. And I think it could stick around and work in that capacity. They've done a lot to, shore up the network and not have the outages that they used to have. But that's also kind of a deterrent for institutions, as they're concerned. Microsoft's threshold for outage, like what's okay and acceptable for them, is like 3 milliseconds a year. They're not going to put that on a network that has a history of going down. And people will point to the XRPL, and it's been paused a couple times. That's okay. The network itself didn't go down, right? And it's been around 13 years and never gone down. Are there other problems with it? Sure, in certain applications. But that's the type of track record that institutions and enterprises and global infrastructure need. It can't be dependent on something that's going to have outages for extended periods of time. So, that's kind of my thesis on those three that you mentioned there. There's a ton of other tokens that I do think will be around and used in multiple applications. If you listen to Brad, he thinks that 99.9% of crypto goes to zero. When Tether blows up, that's the whole point. Like that's what's going to happen. What will persist after that is going to be the things that are going to be used. We've already been through something like the .com boom, but I think we're in for one more deal. This person over here, Iceman's asked me if 1500 TPS is fast enough. No, it's not. And actually, Matt Hamilton, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why he's so grumpy. But he commented on posts the other day and was rather rude to me, and I've never been rude to him. A little bit butthurt about it, to be honest with you. In the past, I've stated things like about Cobalt, which was an initiative that was being developed that would have allowed XRP to scale to much higher TPS. And in that conversation, he was rude and I was nice, and actually asked his expert opinion, because he is an expert. Like, he helped develop the XRPL. He worked at Ripple for an extended period of time. He mentioned that you need an explicit or implicit subnet on the XRPL, along with the payment channels and the side chains, in order to be able to scale infinitely for transactions. And it just so happens that old Bob Way has a patent for a subnet on the XRPL. So when they roll that out, then it will be capable of managing transactions at scale for MasterCard and Visa and all of these other applications. But we do need that subnet in order to be able to fulfill the promise that a lot of people are hoping for. We got Leveraged Legend. I love it. They say, "What's up, Legend?" In Carbon One. Awesome, dude. LLC formed. Awesome. Waiting on Mercury bank account. Could you please explain the next step? How do I onboard my assets with DWP in Anchorage? Mahalo from Hawaii. Very cool. Appreciate you. You guys are 6 hours behind me. So it's only 3 o'clock over there in Hawaii, almost 4 o'clock. So you've done everything great. The mastermind's awesome. Again, if you guys want to join the mastermind, the code's right up here. It is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, #1, and then MO. You don't have to have any amount of digital assets to even join the mastermind, but if you want to learn and be a part of a fantastic community with good culture that have aligned objectives, get access to private deals, and all the other cool stuff that we have there, including the in real life events, that's what that community's for. A lot of the time you feel ostracized or alone in this journey, and it's hard to find people right around you that you can have compelling conversations with that actually get what you're talking about. The mastermind's fantastic for that. We've had so many people connect with people they didn't even know in their neck of the woods that had aligned interests, and they're able to go out and have dinner and hang out, and like, it's just cool. So glad that you're in the mastermind. Awesome on the LLC being formed. You put yourself in a position where you're going to be able to take full advantage of price appreciation when it happens. You've got creditor protection. You have the anonymity already in place. You're setting up a bank account so that that's going to be seasoned in, and you're not going to be, flagged or frozen when you take profits or borrow against your digital asset. You're going to have liquidity. You're going to be able to, move expeditiously toward your goals, whatever those might be, on the other side of price appreciation. When you have an LLC set up, because we've had a lot of people, and you can move it in after. I just want to be candid about this. You can move it in after. My concerns with that are, one, again, like if you don't have seasoned in bank accounts and you move 7 figures into them and they haven't been around a while, even for a business account, they're going to have concerns about that. And rightly so, right? They're like, whoa, this person, and make sure you're telling them high limits when you're setting these accounts up, especially if you do plan to move large amounts of money through them. Because if you tell them 10 grand and you move $1 million through it, they're going to flag it and freeze your account. In addition to that, you might have an exchange account or other things that you've set up in order to be able to facilitate the stuff that you want to do. Or if you're with, like you said, Digital Wealth Partners in Anchorage, then you're going to be good to go, right? Like, it's an institutional quality product, just like a Schwab or Fidelity account for your digital assets. Provide institutional custody, segregated bankruptcy remote insured accounts up to $100 million. And yeah, we also have ways to earn returns, yield in the near future, and the ability to borrow against it already. So kind of have your cake and eat it too. So you would just, for the next step, once you already have the LLC form, you're just going to go over to digitalwealthpartners.net, digitalwealthpartners.net, and there's a contact us form. It's in the drop down, pretty easy to get to. You're just going to fill that out, and then you can start the onboarding process. They'll reach out to you with the paperwork. They'll, ask you a few questions. Got to make sure you're not a terrorist or on the OFAC or sanctions list, doing bad things. And as long as you're not, then we're happy to work with people if they have enough assets and their assets are held in an entity. That could be a trust, it could be an LLC, it could even be an IRA. And we're going to have a way to generate yield and returns, compounding whether you want cash or the asset inside your IRA with a proprietary algorithm in the near future. So if you have an IRA over there at iTrust or Bitcoin IRA or one of these other providers, not poo-pooing them, they're good. It does take a little while to get your assets over because most people don't want to give up assets, right? And that's understandable. No malice against them. But we're going to have a way for you to programmatically just generate additional returns inside that retirement account, tax-free or tax-deferred, depending on what type of retirement account you have. So super excited about that product going live in the near future. And we would love to work with you guys on your IRA. Again, you need to meet the thresholds. So it's at least 100,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value. But you can marry things together. So let's say you had 33,000 XRP in your trust, you got 33,000 XRP in your personal name, and you got 34,000 XRP in your IRA. The total amount of all your accounts just has to be at that threshold, and we can work with you. So we would love to if that's something you're interested in. But to do that, again, you just need to go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form, and they will reach out to you and get it going. Ooh, we got Hiroshi. Hello from Japan. He hit me with 1,000 yen. Thank you, dude. Very cool. He said the Bank of Japan must raise interest rates. But after last August crisis, I believe they cannot hike aggressively, even with energy subsidiaries, even with energy subsides ending or oil spikes. What are your thoughts? They're going to have to, Hiroshi. They can't handle the amount of inflation that would cause in the economy. And it's, look, I'm not the first one to say this, okay? If you guys want to go check out Jim Rickards, he's been saying this since 2004 or 2014. I can't remember which one. Long time. More than a decade, maybe 2 decades. He's been talking about this. He worked with the government to set up these systems and make sure that they'd be able to shore up the Treasury market so that this isn't a problem. That's the whole point for them passing the stablecoin bill in the time frame that they did, is to make sure we will have enough demand to meet all of those inflows from foreign treasuries when they get dumped on the market. It just happens to be the same amount. They're like, oh yeah, we think stablecoin demand here in the US is going to be about 2.3 trillion. Guess how much outstanding debt we have? 2.3 trillion. Oh, so crazy. So we'll save the US dollar. We're going to save treasuries. That's going to be good to go. But they're going to have to raise interest rates, and it's going to be time. You want Japan to be prosperous. You want them to have a high GDP. I think that they're poised for significant upside in the Nikkei and their economy if they're able to divest from the US dollar and get the natives there in Japan to invest in their own bonds, right? They're going to be able to pull themselves out of the stagflation environment that they've had for the past 30 years. So I'm excited for Japan to make this transition. And man, oh man, is it going to be volatile. We got Joey. What's up, Joey? He says, hey, Jake, I saw your video mentioning that XRP has a multiplier of almost 500x when inflows from institutional buys. Can you please explain? Yes. So again, people have a hard time with this concept, and I understand why. All the stocks on the stock market are always available for trade because it's a public stock market. Somebody is holding those with a broker. They're available for trade. Digital assets are different, and they're a protocol. They're not a company. They're not a representation value of a company. So total available supply for purchase on the market and total supply are two different things with digital assets. The illustration that I can give you that's the simplest for this, and it's a little crude. It's not quite accurate, but it's close enough to get the point across. I mint Jake token, okay? I mint 1 billion Jake token, and I get it listed on an exchange. It's listed on Binance, okay? All billion are available for sale. My mom loves me, and she buys 1 Jake token for $1. What's the total market cap of Jake token? There's 1 billion tokens. My mom bought one for $1. Market cap of $1 billion. You got it. Now, what if there was only 10 Jake token available on the market, but there was 1 billion of them minted, and you had like a $10 buy? What happens then? That's where you get the multiplier. That is where total available supply would be very different than the total market cap or the total supply. And you would see that multiplier come into play, and it would be significantly higher in that circumstance for the total market cap and the multiplier that you would get on it. So that's what people are talking about. Zach Rector breaks that down really well. If you guys want to go check him out, love Zach and his channel over there. We got Bo Harvey. What's going on, dude? He says, hope to work with you guys one day after price appreciation. Would love to have you, dude. We're here for you whenever you're ready. He says, always. Anyways, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. All right. Anyone in my area that you know that does similar work to what you guys do? How about them Cowboys? Oh boy, we're like a week away from the season starting, so that's fun. I am a fair weather fan for the Cowboys. I was alive when they won the last Super Bowl in 1995. And I actually remember my dad did not want to go outside and play with me that day. And I was butthurt about it when I was 4 years old. But I know why now, because it's the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl and he wanted to watch it. So, yeah, we are here in Dallas. So, this is the wild thing about what we do. There is nobody else. It is a blue ocean. We are the only people that have figured this out. And it's not easy, right? Like what we've been able to build over the last 12 months here with the wealth management side, and then also all of the partnerships we have to be able to do the estate planning, the accounting, CPAs, tax attorneys in order to mitigate taxes. The network of people that we have specific to digital assets is second to none. There is nobody else that has anything close. I had a conversation today with a group up in South Dakota. They were nice enough to reach out. It's crazy to see like the people that have NFTs as their profile picture on Twitter and like no followers, and they're like lurking in the background. It's actually a bunch of these financial guys that manage hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Wild. Anyway, reached out to me. We had a conversation, and they do it for everything: traditional assets, stocks, 401k, private equity, real estate, private credit, all kinds of stuff. And they have a full firm that CPAs, accountants, the estate planning, wealth management. They're like, we don't do digital assets. We see that you do digital assets, and we want to figure out how to work with you. And we don't want to have to figure it out. So if there's like an easy plug and play solution on how we can work with you, and they owned a bunch of XRP, which I was excited about. Just personally, you know, people in finance get XRP. It makes sense. But anyway, they had clients that have asked about it and they want a solution. And so we are going to be, you know, adding other RIAs to our services and building that out, which is really awesome to see that other people are starting to get interested in this. But there are a lot of frictions if somebody wanted to try to rehypothecate what we've done. I don't want to say it's impossible, but in order to know all the people and have all the IP and the relationships in order to be able to do what we're doing, it's not an easy thing that's just simple to recreate. So I don't think we're going to have, this is wild to say again, knock on wood, I don't think we're going to have any real competition for another 12 to 18 months. I've talked to Citi and Goldman and Fidelity and Merrill and all of them. They have no interest in this. They don't have any of the infrastructure built to be able to facilitate it. And they're at least 12 to 18 months away from having the capability to compete with what we do. So the answer, unfortunately, is no. We don't have anybody there local to you. We do have one of our CFPs, our certified financial planners over there in Kentucky, if you want to go meet with him. We are fully decentralized. I was telling one of our partners this morning, we have employees in every single time zone across the US. So just crazy to see how it's grown. And again, looking forward to working with you as price appreciates. We got CK13 says, good evening, legend. What's up, man? Joined the mastermind, worth every penny. Thank you, dude. Thank you so much for the kind words. You truly care about your community. If I don't have a business account set up and profit take through a personal, how do I mitigate the bank? You don't. I hope you have an account that you moved really large amounts of money through before. And we have clients that do. Like, we have other clients that have private banking relationships and have for years. They've run multi-billion-dollar, well, one or two of them multi-billion-dollar businesses, but a lot of them multi-million-dollar businesses or deca-million-dollar businesses. Construction. I met with two guys today that owned a construction firm and electrical firm down in Houston. Awesome guys. You know, they've got lines of credit for their businesses that are in the millions of dollars that they use to float projects through. Like, if you're in that position, you're going to be okay, right? Because if you moved a bunch of money, you know, they kind of expect that to kind of come through your accounts. It's always one more zero. So, and what I mean by that is, like, if you've moved $10,000 through your bank account and you moved $100,000 in, probably gonna be okay. If you've moved $100,000 or $500,000 through your bank accounts and you move $1 million in, you're probably okay. If you've moved $10,000 through your bank accounts, or $50,000 through your bank accounts, and that's your average balance, and you move 7 or 8 figures in, alarms go off, flags get thrown, accounts get frozen. So I don't know where you're at personally. You might be okay, you might not be. But that's the whole benefit of seasoning in a bank account for a business and letting them know and having a conversation with somebody that you're going to be moving a large amount of money through there, and setting up, a private client account or something that's a bit more robust in the offering, in the expectation of larger amounts of money moving through there. And then it's not going to be a problem. So again, like, people are asking me consistently, like, why would I set up an LLC now? 1, creditor protection. 2, anonymity. 3, to season things in. The longer standing you have with a partner and the more transactions you've done with them, the more they're going to trust you. And the less friction or problems you're going to have in the future, right? So same thing for an asset protection trust. You get creditor protection immediately from an LLC. It's not as good as an asset protection trust. But if it's done correctly, you're maintaining the corporate veil, and we help everybody do that. And you can also put yourself as the first lien holder. It's going to mitigate most people's ability to get your assets if you're in a lawsuit personally. And they could fall in your yard and sue you, right? Like, here's the other thing on the other side of this. And I don't mean to fearmonger people. I'm being just completely honest. When you have stuff, when you are successful, people will come after you. It's just part of playing at that level. It's not a fun part of playing at that level. Tesla at any given time has hundreds of lawsuits against them. And that's just part of doing business at that level. So same thing, as you become more successful and your net worth grows, it's likely you are going to have lawsuits come against you. And if you don't have structures put in place to mitigate those risks and protect your assets, they're going to be up for creditors' grabs. So again, hopefully I haven't told a whole bunch of people that you own a bunch of XRP. If you've been real close to the vest with that and you haven't told many people, probably going to be okay, and you might be able to move your assets into an LLC post-price appreciation and not have to worry about anything. But if you've told a bunch of people and they find out and they come ask you for money and you don't give it to them for whatever reason, or they just decide they don't like you, they can figure out a reason to sue you. People sue people over the stupidest stuff, and it'll be cheaper to settle with them than it will be to fight it out in court. It'd be, 50 to 100 grand just to go through the legal process to get it dismissed. And they'll come after you for that type of stuff. So anyway, this helps mitigate that. It also provides the anonymity for you. Make sure that, you can transact anonymously with your assets, and just be like, yeah, I work for this company. I don't, we know the owners. They're cool people, but yeah, it's not us. Like you have an arm's length relationship, and it'd be much more difficult to people to discern who's associated with the corporation if it's done correctly. And then again, like the seasoning in of the account. So hopefully, again, I'm not trying to pressure anybody to get an LLC. If you have less than $50,000 to $80,000 in your portfolio, probably don't get the LLC. It's not worth it. Unless you think your assets are, going to go to $10,000 a piece overnight, then it might be worth it. You probably want to set up an asset protection trust and spend the, 15 grand that's going to cost you. So, anyway, go ahead and hop to the next one here. We got Sean. Hey, Jake, thank you for everything you and your team do. If I was accredited, is there a wait to get into the funds? We do them. We do capital calls on the 1st of every month. So the assets need to be in your account at Anchorage by like the 15th. Because we have paperwork. Like, we're doing this the legal way. It's not the fun way. It's not DeFi where you click a button and it just goes and makes you money and you can pull it out at any time. We're as close as you can be. Okay. So we ask that if you do participate in the funds, that you commit to at least 60 days before you remove your assets. And we can unwind them at the beginning of each month is when we can pull them out. We can get them out of there faster if you need it. My team's going to be mad at me for saying that, but you can. And then on the other products that we're developing, it'll be right out of your account. You won't even have to contribute to a fund. You'll just sign a paper like you do a CD, and it'll lock those assets in your account for whatever period of time, and you're going to get paid the interest on that. And if you break it, just like breaking a CD, you just only get the interest for however long it's been in there. So I'm excited about those products because I think a lot of people, like, that's what they want. I saw a guy post earlier today. He was like, yeah, I want to be able to lend it to Ripple and earn returns out of institutional custody and make 8%. You're not going to make 8% lending to Ripple. I can tell you that right now. I would know. So 3 to 4% is what we're looking at for the products that we're rolling out for the yield, which is no risk to you. Your assets get locked there in institutional custody, and they pay you that return on a quarterly basis, right? Or over the term of the CD, depends on how you're going to lock it up for. So we're looking to create, I would love to have daily returns on stuff. I would love to have monthly returns on stuff. And we're getting creative on how to do that. But the frictions that exist in traditional finance, we're going to marry them with DeFi. We're going to get it figured out. But until this stuff is on chain, it's still clunky and cumbersome, and you have to wait a little longer for stuff. But if you have enough, like, you're good. We got CK13 again, part 2. They say freezing my assets when I take profit. They can do that for sure. Also, have you considered what do you consider a big bag for average Joe? 8K XRP, 10K XRP. Just asking for a friend. I think my perception is significantly skewed on this. I don't think I'm the right person to ask for this. So like earlier today, there was a gentleman that was like, I posted, there was 2 OnlyFans ladies talking about investing in XRP. And one of them was like, help me, I don't know what to do. And I was like, she should call Digital Wealth Partners. She should. We would work with her, and it would be strictly professional and help her out and make sure that her stuff got done the right way, so she doesn't lose it. Like, that's the whole point, right? And the one lady said she had $1.3 million in XRP, and when it was $2, so she's got around 650,000 XRP. Again, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask for this. What is a big bag for the average Joe? I mean, our average client has a minimum of 200,000 XRP, and we have over 1,500 clients. So there's a lot of people out there with a lot of this asset, and I've talked to most of them, right? So I would say a quote unquote big, and again, like, just remember, a lot of people have been here for 5 years stacking, so they've had 5 years worth of income that they've put whatever they could over here into this asset while it was 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 cents. Okay, so very different than buying it at $3 today. So I guess the time frame on when you bought it would also kind of matter for this question. But for, if you were a W-2, we'll just do the numbers here. We'll just do it this way. You're a W-2 earner, you're a blue collar guy or gal. You're making, the average income in the US, I think, is like, for a family, like $73,000 a year. It depends on what part of the country you're in, but that's what I'm going to go with. Okay. Let's say you're living below your means. Maybe you got a side hustle where you're getting paid cash under the table, and that's what you're using to invest in crypto. And you're pulling an extra, you're saving, and between all your bills and everything, you could hustle up an extra grand, $1,500, $2,000 a month. If XRP is 20 cents and you get an extra $2,000 a month, you're buying 10,000 XRP every month. Is that right? Yeah. Is it 1,000? Let me do my math here. People always give me hell when I get my zeros wrong. I don't even have my phone's not going to work, and I got this one on Twitter. So we're going to do it in my head. We got 5 for 1, and we got 2,000. Yeah, it's $10,000. Okay, or 10,000 XRP if you're buying at 20 cents. And people were stacking back then. People were, pinching pennies and doing what they needed to stack extra XRP. And maybe you didn't even have that much. Maybe you had an extra $500 a month for, let's call it 3 years. You had an extra $500 per month for 3 years that you put into XRP. So, you're getting Well, and we'll say that it was an average at 50 cents, just so it's easy math. So we got an extra 1,000. We got 1,000 XRP a month for 3 years. That'd be 36,000 XRP. So if you got 50,000 XRP, that's a pretty good bag for just the average Joe stacking while it was low, working their W-2. I would consider that pretty healthy for most people. Now, again, there's people that have a lot more than that. We work with them. I've got a couple people that have 40 million XRP. Like, it's a lot. But they also had a bunch of Bitcoin, or they've played Memecoins and made a bunch of money over there. So it all depends on your circumstances, where you're at in your life. You know, if you're younger, if you're a millennial, 50 is probably a great bag. If you're older than that, most of our clients are somewhere between 40 and 70. So it's a little bit different demographic, and most of them are higher income earners, right? They've been able to make a couple $100,000 a month, or sorry, not a month, per year for them and their family. And so they've had excess income that they could funnel into this, especially at low prices, to aggregate large allocations. So if, I'm rambling on here, but I would say, if you had a bag of 50,000 XRP, even today it's 150 grand. That's healthy. That's a really healthy bag for just the average person that's made some investments in crypto, in my mind. And we've dropped the minimum to 50 multiple times to work with people. We've had a lot of clients take us up on that. We're not going to do it again. I can't run another special like that. Don't ask me. I'm sorry. I got my hand slapped. So we are going to run another special in September, though. I'm working out the final stuff on that. We'll keep you guys updated. It'll be in correlation with another webinar that we're going to run. I think September 22nd is going to be when we put that out for you guys. Rob, hey man, good to see you. He says, Jake, I saw August 19th post from Basil that listed XRP as a Group 2A crypto asset. Is that significant or incremental? I have no idea, Rob. Sorry, very thirsty. I have no clue. I don't know what a 2A asset is. I know what a tier 1 asset is. Let's give it a Google here. We'll ask the Google machine what a 2A digital asset is. It is a digital asset. It's representation value, blah, blah, blah. I should have asked ChatGPT and not Google. It didn't give me anything. So I don't know, Rob. Let me take that back and do some research on it, and we will talk about it in the mastermind on Saturday on the town hall. We've got Off the Grid Hero. What's up, man? He says, I keep seeing run to 26 down to 80 cents. I like the 26. It's not going back below where it is now. Okay. I know people want it to. I know people want it to. And this is going to sound mean a little bit. You had your chance. There's been a lawsuit with Ripple for 5 years here in the US. If you were paying attention, you had a very long time to be able to buy more XRP. If you're just now finding this, I know it's frustrating. It's at a much higher price than what it would have been not that long ago. A year ago, it was at 50 cents. Now it's 6 times as expensive. A lot of us that have been here are very happy that it's 6 times as expensive, even though we're still buying more. But I don't see any circumstances where XRP goes back down to 80 cents. We got Daniel. What's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. He says, do you have any crypto LLC contacts in New Zealand? We do. I've got a group that'll set stuff up in the Cook Islands and New Zealand. If you want to reach out to info at digitalfamilyoffice.io. If you're international and you want a partner in your jurisdiction or somewhere close to you that is a tax beneficial region, we would love to provide you with those partnerships and those introductions. All you have to do, again, is just email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we will pass you the roster of people that we have that we think can help you. Ravens, what's up, man? He says, hey, legend, I am onboarding with 85K plus XRP, non-accredited. Are there any yield/investment options available? What are your thoughts on Caspa? 2 good questions here. We will have in the very near future, yield options for everyone, accredited, non-accredited, purple, pink, whatever color you are, whatever sex you are, whatever race or religion you are, you can park your XRP with us and earn a yield with it. Again, looking at somewhere between 3 and 4%, risk-free, sat in your account there at Anchorage. Finalizing things on that, hopefully soon. Our goal was, a go live in mid-September. I don't know if we're going to get that or not, but that's what I'm hoping for. Don't quote me on it. Don't go tell them. Jake said, I did not say. I said I'm hoping, and we want it to be, but we don't know when that's going to happen. Otherwise, I'm never gonna hear the end of it. So, coming soon. Okay, we will have those options for anybody and everybody that wants to work with us, that has enough of the asset to be able to work with us at Digital Wealth Partners. And on CASPA, it keeps coming up. I need to do research on it. I know Uphold is super bullish. Dr. whatever his last name is over there, I call him Dr. Bob. Super bullish on CASPA. And obviously people have already made a bunch of money on it, kind of like ZBEC. Like there's other people that have made a bunch of money on ZBEC. I'm waiting. I look at other things, right? Like I look at hash. I need a utility-driven market cap of an asset class or an application where I can go look at the total addressable market and value of it and how much daily volume it has on it, and then I can work back to what a price or something would be for an asset. I've not seen any financial products or any real world applications when I've done my research, which could be lacking for CASPA. So again, I know Uphold's super bullish on it. I need to do more research. Truth Jester says, Jake, can you give me pros and cons to having my XRP and other cryptos on Coinbase? Can I trust their vault system? I've always been scared of cold wallets. Much love, Mastermind. Awesome, dude. Glad to see you here. Okay. Pros and cons. Coinbase is a publicly traded company. Very unlikely it's going anywhere. So I'll say that. I don't think they're going to go bankrupt. I don't think you're going to have any problems in that manner. Now, I know people have been taken for their money on Coinbase, and it's, I don't want to say prevalent, but consistently a problem. I know multiple people that have been contacted by people stating that they're Coinbase and they are not, and stole their assets. I know other people that have tried to earn yield through different things in the Coinbase wallet that are sketchy scams that have lost their assets. Coinbase is also notorious for going down when there's high volumes and price action and not allowing trades to execute. They also have been notorious for not giving people their assets or when there's an airdrop or a fork. All the people that had Bitcoin Cash on Coinbase back in the day, that had Bitcoin when it forked and they were supposed to get their Bitcoin Cash, they didn't get any of it. Coinbase kept all of their Bitcoin Cash. There had to be a lawsuit filed for people to get their Flare from Coinbase. Fred Recipoli's still in a lawsuit with Coinbase over Songbird, which was never distributed to people. So, and I've told them to their face this exact stuff, and I'm like, I don't trust you guys. You have a track record of not doing what's right for the investor and the consumer, and I'm not holding my assets over here, and we don't want to work with you because of the track record and reputation that you built for yourself. These are all real things. I'm not like, this isn't libel or like, I like their business. I think that they make a ton of money. I think owning the stock is probably a really good play over the long term. It has been. It's been very profitable if you bought it when it fell back down to like $40 during the bear market, or if you bought it pre-IPO, also made a bunch of money on that too. I think they're going to be around for a long time. Here's the deal for me. I do not want people to be treated like a number. I want people to be taken care of. And when a business does the opposite and they just treat you like a number, I have a hard time with that. And I get at scale, like it's hard. I'm dealing with it. We're dealing with it. Like we have a ton of clients. I've had people reach out to us and say, hey, I haven't had a call from an advisor yet. I'm onboarding my assets and I feel kind of left out in the dark here. And we're upgrading our systems to make sure that that doesn't happen. We want to take care of people. We want to have a relationship with our clients. We want to make sure that they know they're taken care of and they can call us, or when they have an issue, we're going to be responsive. Try to call Coinbase customer service. Good luck. And again, I understand at scale, it's very difficult to do that, kind of chicken and the egg. But I think there's a way to do it, and I don't like it when it's not done. So hopefully that provides you some context. I'm sure that there'll be stuff in the future where we do work with Coinbase in some capacity. They're too large and too integrated not to. And that'll be cool. But it's going to be in a way where our clients are not directly affected or interfacing with Coinbase. And you are a creditor of Coinbase. Those are not your assets. So if something did happen, they can lock and freeze your account at any time also. Just decide that they don't want to do business with you anymore and say, nope, here's your cash back. We're keeping your assets because they own them. They're not yours. Honest Aim, what's going on, man? It's good to see you. I'm excited to see you and the wife at our event on the 19th. He says, legend. Happy anniversary to you both. Enjoy your time away. Remember, no cliff diving. Thanks for all that you do for us, little guys. Blessings. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate what you and your family and the support that you guys have given us over the years. Really excited for everything that you guys have going on and we have going on, and how we're able to work together to, preserve and grow your wealth over the long term. What if I want to cliff dive, man? I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, a little bit. Not like I don't gamble, but skydive, I would skydive. And I would jump off of a high cliff. But when I mentioned that on the Carbon 2 call the other day, everybody said, absolutely not. You're not allowed to do that. I could get hit by a bus driving home, enjoy being young, have some fun. But they don't want me to do that. So I won't be cliff diving while I'm in where I'm going. And we'll be playing some golf and doing some other fun stuff. So I'll keep it less risky for you guys, only because you said though. We got Drips to Drops. I love the name. That's cool. They say, thanks for all that you do. I've been holding XRP since 21, which has been hard at times to keep my faith. You and me both, my man. With all the FUD and all of the haters and the SEC case, if it wasn't for you, I was planning on selling 50% of my bag. By the way, loving the mastermind. Thank you, man. See, it's stuff like that like I haven't had as many hard days lately. Knock on wood. I'm really blessed and grateful for my life and everything that we have going on and we're building. Some days are rough, and it's messages like that. Like that's what makes this worth it. Because I know that there have been people that have watched and lost hope or made decisions to hold on, even when times didn't look so great. And it's going to make a difference for people. So thank you for the kind words, and thank you for being part of the mastermind. And hopefully, you're not the only one. But even if you were, like, it's worth it for me. If you're the only person that it ever made a difference for, if it changes the lives of your family for multiple generations, that's what I'm here for. That's the cool stuff, right? Like you can give your kids the opportunities that you didn't have. You don't want to give them so much that they don't have to do anything, but provide for your family for multiple generations. You are the one. Like, the people that are watching this, you are the one. You are going to change the lives of your family for forever. And hopefully it's in a manner that's good and positive. You can look at the Vanderbilts, and we're going to have a family office type summit here in Dallas the 7th to the 9th that I'm going to participate in and speak at. where we talk about the Rockefeller method and how to set things up the right way. You want to instill values and principles and, you know, have a North Star and a mission statement for your family, even if you don't have that much today. Like those things, if you can instill those things in your children, you're going to give them way more than the money ever will. Because if they don't have self-worth, if they don't have something to strive for, because the pleasure's in the striving, in the struggle. When you get something, you get the dopamine hit, but then like it's accomplished, right? Like people thrive on hope that things are going to get better. And you'll fight tooth and nail. There's a science experiment, and this is kind of messed up, so you know, just take it with a grain of salt. They had mice swim in a cup or bucket, and they could only swim for about 15 minutes before they would give up and drown. But if they picked the mouse up right before it drowned, after like 10 or 12 minutes, and then put it back in, it would swim for days on the hope that somebody was coming to save it. And we operate in a very similar capacity. We will give and claw through glass and do whatever you need to if you know that there's going to be something better on the other side. And a lot of the time, that is where the joy in life comes from, is the struggle, is the pain, is the suffering that you endure for whatever it is that you're achieving or looking to achieve. And I think if you don't have that, like if everything's just given to you, silver spoon in your mouth type stuff, that's why you see so many trust fund kids end up doing a bunch of drugs and not know what to do with their life. So it's a line you have to walk, you know, in raising children. When you do have all the resources to give them anything, you still need to instill those values in them and make sure that they understand that stuff is earned. And it's fun to earn stuff and not just have it given to you immediately. We got Rick. What's going on, Rick? He said, I have 13. Rick Mitchell, change your name and do not tell people how much you have. I'm going to take this off here and I'm going to read it on this side because I don't want people to see it. He says, I have a certain amount of XRP and I have a certain amount of XLM and I have a little bit of Bitcoin. If I don't buy any more and I just store it on a cold wallet, is it enough to be life-changing? And how long do you think it would take to get there? That's a good question. And again, just as a principle, if your name is on your YouTube channel, please don't tell people publicly how much you have. And I'm not chastising you, Rick. I appreciate the question. I'm just saying as a good principle, it's good because especially as these things appreciate, you don't want people to know what you got. That's the whole point of the LLC and the anonymity and a lot of the other stuff we do. That's plenty, dude. 5 years. I'd be more than enough to retire for most people. I think XRP easily within potentially even the next 2 or 3 years, but most certainly within the next 5, will be at least $10,000 a piece. And if you've got 13,000 XRP at $10,000 a piece, got $130 million. Doing okay. Be able to park that and earn, even if you earn 1% a year, be $13 million, my man. Yeah. And I know that sounds like a fantasy. Like, I understand that. I hear myself saying it, and they're like, get out of here, man. Like, 13,000 XRP, like $39,000 today, you're telling me it's going to be $130 million in 5 years or less? Like, yeah. I honestly, to my core, don't just believe it, but know it. And I don't know how to impress upon people the value that those assets that you just mentioned. I don't know about Bitcoin. I'm 70-30 on it. but XRP and XLM in particular, they will be the backbone of these protocols and systems that move value globally. And for us to have an opportunity to own a piece of that before they use it at scale and it's not available to the public, I don't think either one of them will be. It's unheard of. And you might be like, well, they're not going to let that many people get wealthy. Most people are going to blow it. Most people are going to mess it up. Most people are selling it $10 because they don't believe it. And that sucks. I don't like that. That's the whole reason that I've built everything that I have, because I want people to be able to protect this and grow it and use it to its full capacity for their family for generations, and not have to be reliant on the banks or somebody else that was outside the XRP army. And I built it selfishly, right? Like, I want it for me and my family, but if I can share it with you guys, that's awesome. That is my value that I can provide this community and this family. But yeah, I think 3 to 5 years, sitting back, sipping Mai Tais on the beach, raking in $1 million a month, pretty easy, is going to be the reality for a lot of people that can persist and resist the urge to sell stuff when they see some pretty significant price appreciation. Because again, like, we're anybody else. If we hadn't built what we've built, it would be another 12 to 18 months before any of this stuff existed on the market, or anybody else, provided this to retail in any capacity. We deal with high net worth individuals, just candidly, like, we have some high minimums. I get that. But as the assets appreciate, they're not going to seem so high. We're going to be working with a lot of people that have 10,000 XRP. I guarantee you. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful for you, Rick. Appreciate the question, and look forward to working with you in the near future. We got Jay Hernandez. He says, no question, bro. Just excited. I stepped up and studied this asset and invested heavily. And I get to shout out Simon and Wabe. Thank you for telling me how to say that, because I'd have butchered it. Love you, bro. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the super chat, and shout out to Simon and Wabe. We got Marin. They say, legend. You recommend setting up an LLC before price appreciation. Can you still do that after price appreciation, or do you still run into the issue of the bank freezing your account? How big a pain is the freeze? I don't know if you've ever had a bank debank you or freeze your account, but it is horrible. Bank of America debanked me not that long ago because I bought a bunch of crypto. Chase debanked me. They do not want you to be moving money into the bank that's associated with crypto. So they may not just freeze your account. They may just tell you, up yours, get out of here. We'll send you a check in 30 days for your $1 million. And you have to deal with it. So if that sounds like fun, which I know it doesn't, again, like, I've had this stuff happen, is the reason I'm adamant about it. And I want other people to be cognizant of it and understand the possible problems that they're going to run into if they don't take action. It's not because, like, again, I don't even say this stuff because I'm not trying to fearmonger people. I want to empower people. I want people to understand how beneficial this stuff is. I don't want to come on here and be like, well, if you don't do this, these are the bad things that are going to happen to you. But the reality is they could, right? I'm not saying they will. You might work with a cool bank. You might have a really good relationship with your banker. But their corporate might call and tell them, get them out of here. So we set up with Mercury. Mercury is super crypto friendly. And we do that on purpose, and we have a strong relationship with them. And that's why we've been able to provide that to our clients that set up an LLC with us. Before, we've had people that tried to set up stuff with Mercury that didn't get through, didn't get approved. That's why you need a relationship. Relationships matter. So anyway, again, I'm not saying any of this to fearmonger. You can absolutely set it up afterward. But if you're going to take profits and you're scared that things are going to move quickly and we're going to have a cyclical pattern where XRP goes back down 90%, you didn't take profit because that's what everybody's telling you to do. And again, never go wrong taking profit. I just want to say that. You're running a risk, and I would rather mitigate risk than entertain it. We are an hour and a half in here, and I know I'm not going to get through all the super chats tonight, so I apologize. Again, if you guys want to join the mastermind and just DM me, and here I better say this, so I'm going to give all my disclaimers here because I just now thought about it. When you join the mastermind, I will not message you. It's not me. It's not me. It is a scam. If anybody tells you about Web3 or Flare airdrop or any of this other crazy crap that's going on out there, it's not me. Also, I will never ask you for your XRP. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I don't work at DWP. I own the firm. I don't work there. I'm never going to ask you for your XRP. I'm never going to tell you to send it anywhere. It's not me. Okay. The only way that our firm is going to communicate through you, the only channel is email. Also, if it's through WhatsApp, Discord, any social media channel, not us. Don't send your assets there. Please, please, please don't send your assets there. It is a scam. And we block almost 100 fake Jakes every single day. I'm doing everything that I can to stop this BS. And it's about to escalate for the people that are doing it, just so they know if they're watching this. So anyway, just to protect you guys, again, do not engage with anybody out there that's pretending to be me. If you DM me on Discord, if you shoot me a message, I will answer it, but I will never DM you. Same thing with other social media platforms. If you can't, what's the email? If you want to talk to our wealth management, it's just support. Well, do info at digitalwealthpartners.net. If you want to talk to the people over there and get your assets into Anchorage. But if you want to DM me, I will answer, or my wife will answer on any social media platform. And then sometimes it's hard to it doesn't have the option. If you comment in my comments and you say, hey, Jake, I would like to send you a message, but I can't, please DM me. That's the only time I will ever reach out to anybody. Anything other than that, it's not me. So that's one disclaimer. The other disclaimers that I need to say, because my legal and my team will get mad at me if I don't, none of this is financial advice. It's only for entertainment and educational purposes only. If you need financial advice, tax advice, legal advice, you can speak to our professionals at Digital Ascension Group that are licensed and certified in order to be able to provide that advice. I'm not that. I'm just some guy on the internet that happens to know a lot and have been through things, and I'm able to provide some insights for education and entertainment purposes. And the other thing I have to say is all the opinions stated here are my opinions. They are not the opinions of the firm. They're not opinions of Digital Ascension Group or Digital Wealth Partners or any of the firms that I own. They are my opinions and mine alone. So there's my disclaimers that I have to say for legal. Rocket Time. Hell yeah, dude. That's an awesome name. He says, thoughts on World Liberty Finance financially, publicly opposing the XRPL. Give your insight into Eric and Donald Trump, avoiding XRP, rug pull, clueless, on purpose. Love what you do. Put the tinfoil hat on. I just talked to Eric at SALT. He was in the VIP section with me down there when we were watching Riley Green play. What can I say? I like what they're doing. I think it's cool. I don't think it's anything in opposition to XRP. And I think you're going to hear Trump and Elon both talk about XRP in the not too distant future. We got Maris. They say, legend. What's up? Thank you for the super chat. They say race cars. What race cars are you going to get? Also, Is Japan raising interest rates when the Fed is raising interest rates around September? The Fed's lowering interest rates. And the FOMC is like the 16th and 17th, and Japan's conference is on the 19th of September. And oil happens too. And when it's price appreciation, how easy is it to get institutional? There are no other options. Like, we're it. There's nobody else that's going to hold your XRP. Ripple doesn't want to deal with retail. I know that they're getting a banking license. BNY Mellon manages their treasury for RLUSD. Integrated with Hidden Road. These other service providers are not. Ripple is going to deal with enterprises and institutions. They're not dealing with retail LLCs. They want a conduit or a partner for that. So, you know, I think it might be easy to get access to that stuff depending on who you want to partner with on the other side of price appreciation. We'll just have to see who that's going to be. And then when it comes to the race cars, kind of want MC20. Looking at, you know, a couple different exotic cars. I've never had any type of exotic car. I've been in a few Lamborghinis, and a few Ferraris. Never been in a Bugatti. Honestly, I'd just like to test drive some cool stuff or race it on the track. Actually, I take it back. I think I am. So this is my like dream car as a child. I wanted a 2008 or 2010 Dodge Viper, blue with white racing stripes. Yeah, with the V12. So if I get something, it'll be one of those two. And I'll probably have it for not that long, and then I'll swap it for something else. You know, most people that own exotic cars don't keep them very long. It's like 2 to 3 years on average, and they get tired of it and they flip it for something else. That'll be, yeah. And I've got some other 96 Supra. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody's got their deal. You know, I also liked like a Trans Am or a Firebird with T-tops. I think that'd be cool. But this bug, the Exterminator came out and we still got bugs. That's what you get when you live in the country. Just part of it. We got Shade Spot. Thank you for the super chat. He says, Jake, with great financial crisis 2.0, surely they'll let markets bleed out a bit before giving XRP as a solution. Or you think it will be Monday crash, Monday afternoon XRP is brought up and retail can't buy it? I think it'll be all at one time, my man. If they don't, it can't be like COVID or one of these other ones. It'll be a V bottom out of there. And because it's a global credit call is what it is. Like when this collapse happens, it's going to be like limit down, market's frozen, XRP source. Like that's how I see it going down. I could be wrong. Maybe it's drug out, but I don't see that happening. I am nowhere close to the bottom of the chat, and I'm not even going to attempt to do it tonight. I'm just going to give everybody that, you know, chatted up top the best answers I can. We got John. He says, legend, appreciate all the advice. Any concerns on GCUL entertaining the institutional fray and affecting XRP? I don't know how to impress upon you guys why I have the level of conviction that I do. But the conversations that I've had, I'm not worried about anything affecting XRP. Like there's never going to be any new thing that comes out or anything that comes out that I don't, that I think is going to have any implication on its adoption. So and that's from a lot higher than, again, I've just been really blessed and I'm really grateful to have had the conversations and met the people that I have. I'll say it that way. We got Beyond Blessed. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Super great name. They say legend. Change screen name after your direction and have never put my XRP bag amount out there. I'm buckled in for the last 4 months of 2025. Hope to become a client and work with you, DWP, DAG team in 2026. Blessings. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words, man. And yeah, that's great. I love the name. I think you're crushing it. We've got Jason King. He says, thanks for everything. U.S. Venezuela, be a catalyst for oil. What's the tea lady think? and what's her price prediction for XRP by end of year? I'll tell you this, Jason. My wife, God love her, is very realistic. And she told me that she will celebrate or start to celebrate when we see a higher than a $7 XRP. So we're not there yet, but I think when it goes, it will be much higher than $7, and she will be very happy. But she would be happy if it was a $7 XRP. So again, I think way higher than that, but that's her number where she'll actually crack a smile. And U.S. versus Venezuela. So I'm not overly concerned about the U.S. oil market. Really don't care at all about the U.S. oil market. I'm watching the yen versus WTI crude. So WTI versus the yen. And I don't think that the U.S. dollar versus oil will actually have a whole lot of problem. I could be wrong. It could be a global crisis. It just needs to be a trade route where Japan directly is impacted by the oil trade, and that would be enough to cause price to soar there, and then rising interest rates. James, what's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. He says, Jake, your takes are awesome and you're authentic. What is your opinion on Cardano? Do you think the price could surprise people in the future? I do, but I don't know why. I got to see Charles at Salt. He had 5 security detail with him the whole time. He had the most security detail of anybody else at Salt. And I don't know if he's paranoid because he thinks his fingers are going to get chopped off or something like the guy for Ledger, or if it's a flex for him. Because he is a multi-billionaire, and he's not that much older than me. He's like 37, 38. Looks a little older than that. I think it's the facial hair. But crushing it. But as far as Cardano goes, I've made a bunch of money on Cardano, just candidly. I rode Cardano all the way from 9 cents up to $1.10 or $1.20 in the last cycle. Could have rode it higher than that, but I sold out. So, you know, when things go, they go. Could there be some more speculation on Cardano that causes it to go to 10, 15, 20, 25 bucks? Sure. I just don't know what it's going to be used for. I don't know. I haven't figured that out. There's a lot of games that are built on Cardano. I haven't seen any real world use case or application for it. And the other piece is it's hard to integrate. It's a newer coding language. So for those people that aren't familiar, Rust and Wasm are very good coding languages. There's just not that many developers that use it, and it's newer. And the lift to integrate it with legacy systems is not small. So for them to get the exchange integrations that they have has actually been a big lift. Most of these exchanges, you know, invest a lot of time and money to support Cardano. When we talked to Anchorage about it, they were like, yeah, it's going to cost us $250,000 and it's probably 6 months worth of work. So probably not anytime soon. So we're going to have to work, you know, partner with somebody else in order to get that integration. But yeah, I think it could do well. Dad Dog Dodger, appreciate you on the super chat, man. I don't see a question. If I see one, I will answer it. Thank you so much for the super chat. We got Jonathan Wetter. He says, can you explain if XRP goes to $100, for example, what that will look like in the growth and income fund? A lot of money. A lot of money, Jonathan. That's what it will look like. Here's the piece for me. It's stuff that I'm working on and I think about and like worry about. The strategies that we put XRP to work in today also operate within the constraints of the market. And if I handed them $1 billion today, the returns would start to truncate. not by much, but basis points. And if the more money I gave them, the less money they would be able to make on it. And so we're continuing to aggregate relationships because at scale, I think, Digital Wealth Partners will likely manage, I think we get to $10 trillion over the next 5 years. I think we will be one of the largest financial firms on the planet. The problem with that is if, like these Saudi princes and these sovereign wealth funds, they don't get out of bed unless they're cutting $100 million check. Most of the time, by time stuff gets that large in late stage private equity or some of these other opportunities, a lot of the gains or returns have already been made, right? So realistically, you want to find, if we could find 100 or 200 fund managers that have consistent good track records, that can put assets to work in multiple different facets or fashions, that were uncorrelated in their, return profiles, and distributed across or inversely correlated across market action. That's the long-term goal for us. And we're working diligently every single day to find as many of those as we possibly can, because I know that we will be managing hundreds of billions of dollars in the not too distant future. And in order for us to meet the objectives that we need to for our clients and perform at the level that we want to, we need to be generating you guys at least 8% on your portfolio, total portfolio. Otherwise, you're going to take it somewhere else. You'll have the money to do it, right? And if we're not providing at least that level of value, what good are we, right? Like, you might get reduced fees and you get access to a bunch of stuff. That's the other cool part about what we're doing. As we grow, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's more people that want to bring opportunities to us because we have the liquidity to be able to support it. So I'm really excited about DeFi being integrated with institutions, the liquidity pools that are going to be available on the XRPL when those go live. We'll figure out how to work the AMMs in the right way to be able to mitigate, unrealized losses, or it's not unrealized losses, when you don't double side the pool, and permanent loss. There you go. All these things are on my mind on a consistent basis, and we're working through all of them to make sure that we're going to be able to provide you guys as much value as we possibly can and sustain that over the long term. I'm gonna do something different here. There's so many super chats. Thank you guys so much for those. I'm gonna scroll up from the bottom and catch them that way, because I've only got 15 minutes left here. And I'm gonna figure out, and I'm gonna ask Living Legacy, who's one of the moderators over there in the chat, in the Discord, how to change this to just super chats so I can get through it faster. Not that I'm going to be able to answer them all at this point. You guys are so awesome. You ask great questions, and y'all hang out with me for 2 hours. And I try to keep up with it all, but I'm not able to do it. So I apologize for that. Again, if I miss your super chat, email it to us. Email it to info@digitalfamilyoffice.io if I missed your super chat. Or you can join the mastermind, and you can DM me in the mastermind on Discord, and I will answer it there if I didn't get to it here. And again, I apologize if I don't get to it. We got Caleb Productions. They say, what about the Gemini card, Jake? Is it worth getting? I think it's cool. I'll tell you this about Gemini, though. I think they're trying to save face and pivot here because they know XRP is going to be successful, and they want a bunch of the XRP community to move assets over there onto their platform. They never listed XRP before the lawsuit, and they were one of the first people to come out and talk mad poo-poo on XRP when the lawsuit happened. The Winklevoss twins made a ton of money on Bitcoin. They are scared of XRP. And I think this is their way to try to save face, have an olive branch with Ripple, and figure out what it looks like for the XRP community to come onto the platform. I don't like them. I think it's cool. I think Uphold's going to have theirs, and I think I would rather use Upholds than Gemini's, because they were so rude and didn't like XRP, and now it looks like they're kind of, I don't know, it's disingenuous to me. I know that Ripple's behind it and they're working with them, and they've extended the olive branch, and I think that's great. But I'm all about forgiving people. I just don't forget stuff. So we got Mr. Buck. Mr. Buck, appreciate you for the super chat. He says, "Hey Jake, can I move my XRP from my iTrust Capital Digital Dissension Group for yield opportunities, or do I have to have a referral in Georgia for that?" Nope. Good to go, man. Just reach out to us. Go to digitalwealthpartners.net. Go to the contact us form and let us know you want to come over, and we would love to work with you. You do have to have at least 100,000 XRP between your personal accounts, or not your personal accounts, but your business accounts, your trust, and your IRA in order to move it over. But if the total of that is above 100,000 XRP, we would love to work with you. We got Nitty. Thank you for the super chat. They say, "I started an LLC a while back. I already opened a business account with Kraken and Caleb and Brown. This was before I started watching your channel. Am going to resolve and go through you guys. I want to know, will it be an issue?" You just can't use the same name. So choose a different naming convention. If you set it up in Wyoming, you shouldn't be a problem. We can dissolve it and do it the right way. But you already have accounts. You sure you want to close it? Like, I just don't understand. Like, if you set it up in your state, if you set it up in Nevada, you're probably fine. If you did it in South Dakota, probably fine. Even Delaware, probably okay. But anything outside of that, you're not going to get the anonymity for attorney-client privilege. Wyoming's just so much better for digital assets. So if you didn't set it up there, and you could keep that LLC and use it for something else if it's in your home state. So don't just get rid of it. Disregarded entity is fine. Just keep it that way. Set up another one, and get rid of that other operating agreement, start it over, and then do this one. But there's a better way to do that. Our team will walk you through it. So it shouldn't be a problem. We can help you figure it out. We've got Ashfag Ahmed. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry, dude. They say, "Someone told me that XRP is not being used in the Ripple ledger. They're just using XRP to fund and start RLUSD. and bank. Is this actually possible?" Partially true. Okay. It's not totally true, though. So Ripple does fund their business by the sales of XRP. I don't make any bones about that. That is absolutely true. They sell XRP onto the market every single month and make a bunch of money, and they use that to fund their business. But it's a positive feedback loop. They're doing RLUSD, so people will issue stablecoins on the XRPL, including Japan, Brazil, and other people here in the US. That's the pilot. It is the standard for how people should be doing it. And so they have to do it, and everybody else will follow. Same thing with the banking charter. If Ripple can compete against the banks, and they've tried like hell to get the banks to adopt this stuff, and they won't do it, fine. We will do it, and then you guys have to follow us. That's what Ripple's doing. So their stated mission from the jump has been to make XRP a global reserve currency. And they've stated they will make a dent in the universe. You don't make a dent in the universe recreating Nostro Vostro accounts with stablecoins. It's not going to work. You need an intermediary asset that's a neutral asset that everybody's going to use and exchange value through, so that you don't have to hold somebody else's stablecoin at another bank. They don't trust one another. The banks don't want to hold each other's stablecoins. They need a neutral bridge asset to exchange value, and that's the whole premise behind XRP. Settles real time, can move millions of dollars for pennies. Garrison, thank you for the super chat. They say, "Hey Jake, thank you for all your team do. Now that I set up my LLC and I'm ready to onboard, what is a good credit card that you'd recommend, easy to get, and doesn't break the corporate veil?" Depends on your credit. I like Chase Sapphire. Also like Amex, never go wrong with an Amex. You can, don't tell anybody I told you this. You can apply for up to 11 Amex cards the same day if you know you're going to get approved, and it will only run your credit the one time, especially if they are all business cards. So there's a hack that somebody showed me years ago. Very good. If your credit's good enough, if you're like a 750, you can get that done. So, you do you, but good hack if you want to do it. Chase Sapphire is good. There's some other ones like Ramp or Brett. It's Brett, what do you call them? Let's see what it is. You have to hold a bunch of money in your account, and they'll issue you a credit card on top of that. And they want you to hold pretty significant reserves. But if you have employees and you want them to like only be able to spend on certain things or certain limits and have governance on stuff, it's a really good option. But just for your business expenses, I would recommend either Chase Sapphire or the Amex if you could get either one of those. All right, we're gonna grab 3 more super chats and then we're gonna wrap it up tonight. We've got a lot of not super chats here that I'm actually getting through. I'm surprised by this. You guys ask good questions. Here's the code for the LLC. I know we've had a couple of people ask about it tonight, and I don't think I've even said this. So it's over here on YouTube and on X if you're watching there. Here on TikTok, I'll say it out loud for you. It is 50 off, 50 OFFDAG, like dog alpha golf LLC. That's 50 off DAG LLC. Get you everything all in for your digital asset LLC for $2,000. You might be like, that's expensive. I can go do it on LegalZoom. You can. You absolutely can. They're not going to give you an operating agreement curated specific for this, and they're going to file the wrong type of company, and they're potentially going to set it up where you have tax implications. So if you want to do it the right way, we do it the right way. We've done over 3,500 of these companies at this point. We by far the leader. We've done more than anybody else, and we do them in a very specific way to make sure that you do not have any tax implications. You maintain your corporate veil. You have a registered agent. It's filed anonymously there in Wyoming and continues to be anonymous the way that we've structured it. You get creditor protection. We can set you up as the first lien holder against the LLC, which provides you the ability to get assets. If somebody did sue you and did pierce the corporate veil, you get them first. On and on and on. We have bank accounts, bank account partners that we work with to be able to provide that for you. Yeah. So yeah, there's cheaper solutions out there. You can absolutely attempt to do it and do it on your own. But I will tell you, we've seen almost, I won't say everybody, 95% of the people that go attempt to do it on their own come back to us later and have us set it up anyway. Because they mess something up. So again, I don't like to fearmonger. I want to empower people. We are here to help you and make sure it gets done right. If you want to use that code 50 off DAG LLC, it's 50 OFF DAG LLC at the website digitalfamilyoffice.io. Get you everything you need. And I wouldn't even set it up if you have less than like $50,000 to $80,000 in your portfolio. Your money is better spent buying more crypto. So don't pay us, buy more crypto if you have extra money. Anyway, love to work with you guys. I love all of our clients. And we'll continue to provide that value for guys as long as you'll let us, and as long as you continue to work with us. We got Frankie. He says, hey, legend, can you advise how to manage crypto assets if crypto is banned in your country? Ooh, you in China? Where you at, Frankie? Move. I'd get out of there. And this is something that wealthy people have taught me. You go where you're treated best. If you have the money, if you have the resources, you move to where you're treated best. And that's why a lot of people, Digital Nomad and some other people that are on YouTube will tell you, like Thailand or Singapore or some of these other jurisdictions in Southeast Asia, the UAE over there in Dubai. There's a lot of places in the world where Americans in particular, I don't know if you're American, Frankie, doesn't sound like you are really revered and taken care of. And the culture, people take care of each other. Japan is cool too. They have really progressive regulations around digital assets. They're great. The EU and Australia and anything under the monarchy, not that great for tax implications. I would, if you can, get out of there would be my recommendation. I know that's not like, it may not be tenable for you, and I'm sorry I don't have a better answer. We got Tony. What's up, man? He says, hey, Jake, unfortunately, I live in New York. If I go ahead and buy the LLC, what will be the difference for me as compared to someone in Florida or Wyoming? We have to file reciprocity with New York, but you will be able to buy and create accounts and do everything that you need to be able to get access to digital assets with a Wyoming LLC, Tony. You just set the account up in the name of the LLC. Now, we need to use the registered agent's address, and we can set you up a virtual office there in Wyoming and get a bill for that building. Depends on what exchange you're getting listed on or trying to work with. Anchorage, if you want to work with us to buy the XRP, we can do that. If you're willing to buy, 300 grand worth, we can work with you. And we have a BIT license there at Anchorage in order to be able to facilitate that for people in New York. So I have some workarounds. It is cumbersome. It's not always easy. Got to use a VPN and broadcast it to like Colorado or Wyoming if you're going to be able to buy while you're there in New York using the Wyoming LLC. But it can be done. So, and when you sell, we still got to pay taxes there in New York. They're a pain in the ass. Excuse my French. T, what are you doing, man? Thank you so much for the super chat. Wow. He says, Jefe. Thank you. He says, thank you for your existence. Was wondering if you had any thoughts on the severity of the reverse carry trade on retirement vehicles, particularly in the market, and if course correction does or does not rebound to their previous levels in a timely manner, would liquidating digital assets be more viable? Insert disc. Thank you so much for the super chat, my man. I think, I don't know what your time horizon is. If you're really close to retirement and need that money, I can't give you financial advice, but I can paint a scenario and tell you what I would do in it. Okay. If I were 55 or older and in the market right now, I would be running for the hills. I would be pulling all of my money out of all the positions that I'm in. I would be parking it in US Treasuries, just like Warren Buffett, and I'd be hanging out until the storm passes. And if there's a little bit more upside, okay, I missed out on a little bit more upside before that happened. If it's another 5 or 10%, don't care. I am making sure that my retirement is secure, that I am structured, that I am set to be able to live off this stuff if that's my entire life savings in these retirement accounts. I might take some allocation to XXRP or other like XRP products that have been brought to market. But that would be the only positions that I would own if I were in the stock market and stuck in those type of vehicles and that close to retirement. You make your own choices. If you want to talk to Digital Wealth Partners, I'm sure that they're probably going to tell you, Jake's silly. Again, these are my opinions. They're not reflective of the firm. They are fiduciaries and they hedge risk much more than I do. But for me, I wouldn't risk it. I'd pull my chips off the table. I'd park them somewhere where I know I'm going to have them. And I would wait for the storm to pass. And then I would redeploy that capital at the bottom of the market so I could ride it all the way back up. And then I know that I'm going to be able to retire, right? I watched my dad lose his retirement 3 different times. And then not take the chances at the bottoms. Even though he pulled some out on the way down. Like he knew to do that. He just didn't redeploy it. So anyway, thank you so much for the super chat and a good question. I hope that's helpful for you. Again, I can't give you financial advice. You make your own financial decisions. But that's what I would do if that scenario was painted and I was 55. That's how I would play it. I don't know what this is. Holy cow. I don't know what COPs are, but that is a lot of COPs. Thank you for the super chat. They say, blessings, Jake. Greetings from CO. Thanks for your wisdom. God bless you and your family. Do you still see XRP hitting $500 to $700 by the end of the year with Catalyst, ISO, banking, CBDCs also? Does DCG play a role in international wealth management? Digital Currency Group and Barry Silbert and those guys over there, yeah. I mean, we know them. We might work with them in some capacity in the future. But when it comes to, the Catalyst and CBDCs and all that stuff that you mentioned, yeah, I'm still gung-ho by the end of the year here. I do think I wouldn't have made the bet if I didn't think so. I'm going to take one more super chat. I'm trying to get to all of them. I know I missed some, but again, you guys, I would love for you to see you in the mastermind. We have at the town hall every Saturday and Monday. We get on there and we answer a bunch of questions and run it down. They're recorded. You can listen back to them later if you don't get your stuff in here. And again, you can DM me, or you can email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we'll get back to you that way. We got Timo. He says, hey, Jake, this may be a silly question. There's no silly questions, Timo. The silly question is the one that you don't ask. He says, but I hear you talk about Google getting involved with payments and blockchain. If so, does that affect XRP? Nope. They will use XRP. It's for settlement. Hedera is for data packets and security and Web3 and dApps. But the settlement of global trade, commerce, transactions, back-end, large value settlement between banks and institutions, always going to be XRP, in my opinion. Steve, right below him, says, do you look after Australians? I didn't qualify with my self-managed super fund. Yeah, we work with Australians and their self-managed super fund, but they do have to have enough assets in order for us to work with them. So that's going to be it for tonight. Appreciate you guys taking the time out. Again, if you would like to join the mastermind, we'd love to see you in there for $2. You can join. It's right up here at the top. It is Beyond Broke. 1 MO gets you 1 month for $2 there at Carbon One or Social. If you do need the LLC, again, that code is 50 OFFDAG LLC. Get you everything all in for the digital asset LLC for $2,000. And if you want all the cool stuff I talked about with Digital Wealth Partners to be able to generate returns on your XRP, and also be able to hold your XLM or Bitcoin or ETH or Solana, Matic, Chainlink, and very soon HBAR, you can reach out through digitalwealthpartners.net, the contact us page there, and we will reach out to you to get things going. So with that, hope you guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you guys back here again next Wednesday. Until then, God bless and Godspeed, and we'll see y'all on the next one.